Welcome back to Lasnik channel. My name is Anton Vieltsin. I'm an attorney in the Southern District of California here in San Diego. In the first criminal case of 2023, the Ninth Circuit tackles the question whether permitting a juror to participate in a criminal trial remotely on Zoom was a structural error, and thus the conviction must be vacated. In order to answer that question, we're going to look at this case a little bit closer. But before we do, I want to thank you for watching me on YouTube and subscribing and hitting that bell notification button. And if you're listening to the podcast version on Audible or Spotify, please give my podcast a 5-star review rating. Thanks for watching.
Quick message from Law Stash. Are you charged with a crime? Or do you want to know your rights if stopped by police? Watch California attorney Anton Vieltsin discuss legal cases from the Supreme Court, Ninth Circuit, and California state courts on the Law Stash YouTube page. Anton has handled hundreds of federal and state criminal cases, has an in-depth knowledge of the law, and has the best mustache ever. Subscribe to the Law Stash YouTube page. That's LAWSTACHE.
The case we're discussing today is United States versus Edward Knight, who was convicted of robberies and received a 169-month sentence following a jury trial conviction. He now appeals his sentence and the trial and says that the conviction must be vacated because the district court made a structural error by permitting one of the jurors to participate in trial for the first 2 days remotely by Zoom. On March 8, 2021, the district court empaneled a juror, and then the next morning, juror number 10 called the court and said that he and his wife might have been exposed to COVID and he's unable to attend. The district court made 3 options available to the parties. Option number 1 is to allow juror 10 to participate in the trial by Zoom. He could listen to the testimony, view the evidence by Zoom, and if by the time the jury begins deliberation, he is and his wife is clear, that he can join the deliberation. If not, then I would dismiss him at the time if he could not join the deliberation. That way, I can still have 2 alternatives for a while. The second option is to dismiss him and have 1 alternative for the trial, really before opening even starts. And then the third option is to delay trial until juror 10 can and is essentially permitted to return to normal activities. The government preferred the juror number 10 be excused from service, citing potential technological problems in having somebody appear remotely, while Mr. Knight and his attorney preferred option number 1 instead of delaying trial or relieving juror number 10 from service. Then the district court addressed Mr. Knight directly, and here's the exchange. The court asks and tells Mr. Knight, if you can insist that all the jurors participate at the trial in person, but if you agree to have juror 10 watch the trial via Zoom, and of course he would have to participate with deliberations in person, but for now he could watch the trial via Zoom. If you consent to it, I will take that approach. Do you agree? Mr. Knight told the judge, yes ma'am, I agree. The court then asked him, have you had a chance to talk to your attorney about the option before consenting? Again, yes ma'am. I want to make sure you understand that you have the option of electing not to proceed with that option. If you object to proceeding with that option, I will not proceed with that option. Do you understand that? Yes ma'am. Knowing that, is it still your decision to consent to juror 10 participate and view the trial via Zoom? The defendant, Mr. Knight, again told the judge, yes ma'am. The court then said, all right. The district court then proceeded to trial with juror number 10 participating remotely. At the end of day 1, the government renewed their objection and said that juror number 10 should be relieved, again citing technological problems that they had during the day. The district court then had an exchange with Mr. Knight once again. I'm not going to talk about it here because it is basically the same exchange. They're confirming with Mr. Knight that he's waiving his right and he's allowing juror number 10 to participate remotely. And again, he waives the right and allows trial to proceed in this fashion. On day 3, juror number 10 was able to return to court in person, went through deliberation in person, and Mr. Knight was found guilty of robberies. He now appeals his sentence and says that the district court made a structural error. Structural errors infect the entire trial process and necessarily make the trial fundamentally unfair. These are also rare circumstances. In fact, the appellate court gives us a number of examples where it has been found that there was a structural error and the conviction must have been vacated. Here's the examples: where there's a biased trial judge, where there's a denial of counsel, denial of self-representation, denial of public trial, race discrimination in the selection of the grand jury, directing entry of judgment in favor of the prosecution, defective reasonable doubt instructions, and failing to give oral instruction to the jury. These are the examples of structural error where the conviction must be vacated. Finally, the Ninth Circuit says that by looking at the record, there is no indication that allowing a juror to participate remotely affected him in a way where he's now biased or impartial or unrepresentative. And the technological issues that the trial court might have had doesn't rise to the same level that the other examples that I cited earlier. And thus, this was not a structural error. It is one where the defendant can in fact waive his right and allow the jurors to participate remotely, as long as that waiver is knowing and voluntary. And here it was. The appellate court said the district court twice spoke to Mr. Knight and made sure that he was aware of his right and that he was waiving it voluntary. If you enjoyed this video, please click like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so next time I post, you'll be first to know. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this recording on Audible or Spotify, please give my podcast a 5-star review rating. Thanks for watching.